How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the first video of how to make a short film for beginners inside Unreal Engine 5. Now, Unreal Engine 5 has a ton of new tools, and we're going to talk about all of those things on how to make a short film. This particular series is going to be mostly dedicated to how to do the character work. So we're going to go through the Metahumans, how to customize the Metahumans, how to use them for animation. We're going to talk about control rig. We're also going to be talking about how to customize the Metahumans, which is something that you're going to see in this very video. And we're also going to talk about how to light them. And we're also going to talk about how to set up the mocap. There's going to be a whole section of this series dedicated to the mocap part, and another one dedicated to using Markeplace assets, because I know a motion capture system, it's not something that everyone can afford, but don't worry, there are many ways that you could do a short film by just using Markeplace animations. And we're also going to use a ton of assets from the Marketplace. Now, before we move on, let me give a big thanks to everyone in the community, everyone who's been supporting the channel, my patrons, everyone on Discord, because we finally reached 20,000 subscribers. That is huge. For me, I know I'm still a small channel, but for me, it's a huge milestone that I got into 20,000 in such a small period of time, because I started this channel in 2020. It started to pick up in 2021, and I remember at this time in 2021, we were around 2,500 subscribers, now in 20,000. That is amazing, and it's all thanks to you guys helping me out with sharing the videos, leaving a like, leaving a comment, so the algorithm doesn't forget our channel. And we now have a big community on Discord. The server is pretty much over 840 something users, and there's all sorts of helps that you can find over there. There's channels dedicated to doing cinematic stuff in Unreal, there's environment stuff, there's 3D modeling, everything on our Discord server. So if you have any questions about things that we do here, things that you see on my tutorials, the Discord is the best way to go and ask the questions, so you can share a screenshot and all that goodness. My admin Kirk, it's usually there, along with many people from the community who are willing to help. And sometimes I just jump in myself. Now, what I'm doing right here is a brand new way of doing motion capture. I'm actually recording this in real time with Take Recorder for later use. The purpose of the system is just to test it out. How much can I use Take Recorder and later put it in a separate animation with cool cameras and cool lighting, which is what you're seeing right here. And as always, I'm not going to forget my level 2 patrons. So there's a shout out to my level 2 patrons right behind. Thank you so much for helping me out, and thank you to all my patrons. At this point, we're getting a lot of patrons lately. Thank you so much for your help with the channel. Now, before this video, if you haven't seen it, there is the first short film of the channel that took a long while to make, and we're going to be using various systems that I use for that short film. So if you haven't seen that, please take a look. It has been very successful. It actually has been more successful than I thought. Thanks to one of my patrons, Carl, who also donated several of the assets that I'm using in that short film. And yeah, thanks everyone overall. And by the way, if you'd like to see me in this setup, leave me a comment down below telling me, yeah, I'd like to see more of you as a metahuman, because sometimes it's just harder for me to film myself. That's why you don't see me as much on camera as other YouTubers. But this setup's actually easier for me to use, which is, I know it's a little bit weird for some people that I can be more of a metahuman than myself on camera, but yeah, it's actually easier for me to do it this way because of the lighting situation. I can rearrange the cameras however I want. By the way, by the end of this video, we're going to be using this same Metahuman, and we're going to be customizing it with the warrior armor that I use on that short film. So stay around till the end of the video. There are chapters if you want to skip to any specific part of this very video. And yeah, let's get started. Just like our last beginner series, I'm going to start with all the things that you are going to need for this kind of project. Now, there will be chapters in the description down below if you want to jump to anything in specific. But let's get started with the marketplace. The marketplace is going to be your friend, especially if you're a solo developer like myself. There are many things that you're going to need that if you try to make them yourself, you're probably going to take too long to make one of these things unless you're doing this full time. I have a day job, so that's why I need to go to the marketplace. I remember saying this in another video, but the fact that you're using marketplace assets, whether it's for your game or for your short film or any project whatsoever, doesn't mean you're doing an asset flip. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It means that you are utilizing every resource that you have, because if you see, a lot of AAA games are recycling assets from other games that they've made. So everybody does that because time is the most precious commodity and it's something that you cannot get back. And it's just better to buy some assets. Of course, one of my recommendations is always, if you're going to get something off the marketplace, give it a little time to try to make it unique, change some of the textures. I made some changes to the assets that I've used on the short film as well. I didn't use them fully stock as they came in. So just add a little touch of your own creativity to these marketplace assets so they seem a little bit unique. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, let me show you a couple of things that you're gonna want regarding characters, because again, the series is going to be a lot more focused into characters. I already had a series that was dedicated to environments, so you can that series has a link in the description down below if you want to watch that. But for the characters, one of the things that I highly recommend, and I'm going to use the same character that I used for my short film, is you need to look at something that's super important. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Is it rigged? It has to say yes. Is it rigged to Epic Skeleton? Hopefully it says yes. Any character that you buy off of the marketplace or on cgtrader.com, which those are the two places that I usually frequent. If you've seen my assets recommended series, I usually go to those places because, well, this is the Unreal marketplace. Of course, it's going to have good quality assets for Unreal. And CG Trader tends to have a lot of game assets as well that are a little bit more on the higher quality side that probably you wouldn't use for game, but they work well with cinematics. Now, it's super important that they say rig to the Epic Skeleton, because that way you are going to be able not only to do an easy mocap, which I'm going to show you later in other videos. It's going to be very plug and play if you already have a mannequin character or something that's rigged to the Epic Skeleton. Whereas if you have something rigged for something else, or it has a very customized rig, then there are some extra steps involved, and we want to be as efficient as possible. So if you are going to make your own character, then by all means dedicate that time to make it work for you. But if you're buying something off of the marketplace, make sure that it's rigged to the Epic Skeleton. This thing that it says scale to the Epic Skeleton, this is not 100% needed. If it says yes, it's fine. If it doesn't say yes, it doesn't matter, because we are going to talk about later on how to rescale animations between characters, which is a very streamlined process that Unreal Engine 5 has nowadays. Now, another good thing, this is a very old asset, but it still works really good. I would, however, recommend that when you're buying any assets from now on, make sure that they say supported engine Unreal Engine 5, because that means that you can just download the asset and put it in Unreal Engine 5, as opposed to migrating it. Migrating it has no issue. I haven't had an issue with an asset that I've migrated from 4 to 5 yet. You may have some problems, so just make sure that you have Unreal Engine 5 here on their supported versions. Now, another thing that I've said in my recommended asset series, and it's right here, is the vertex count. This character is what I would call a little bit on the lower side. You want to look for something that's 20,000 and higher. Hopefully above 50,000 would be much better quality, but always stay on the side of more vertex counts than less, because if you are making something for cinematics, you're going to be using movie render queue, you're going to be using sequencer, you're not going to be worried about real time so much. So you need the highest polygon character possible in that case, and we're going to be using Unreal Engine 5, so Nanite takes care of the environment. That means that you can spend all that performance into your character to make things look good for your short film. When it comes to texture resolution, again, this is probably not the best example, but it's just the character that I use for the short film. I highly recommend that you get something that is 4K and up, because if you're gonna use this for a short film, then you're most likely gonna get close to that character. Probably you're gonna get close to a certain specific part of the character, and you want the texture resolution to be optimal and to not pixelate once you're that close. If you want me to do a series on what animation packs do I recommend, please let me know in the description down below, and we'll make that happen as part of this tutorial series. Another thing that you're going to need is control rig mannequin. And the reason why I'm telling you you're going to need this project is because we're going to be just grabbing all the control rig that is made for the mannequin, and we're going to toss it over to whatever character or custom character we've made. This is another important point as to why it's better to have anything made to the Epic skeleton, because it's going to make our life easier, especially whenever we're making control rig. So make sure you have this project as well. Just download it. I know it doesn't say 5.0, but you can always migrate this to Unreal Engine 5. Just before we get into the engine, this is our Discord. Actually, this is the announcement section where I post all the new videos and stuff. I highly recommend that if you're new to this, just join our Discord. This is the better way that we can help you out. There's a lot of people here in the community already. I believe it's like we are at 840 people over here. There's a lot of people besides me that are willing to help. So make sure you just drop by. If you have any problems, just let us know and send a screenshot. Usually my admin Kirk or myself, Dropside, there's a lot of people here willing to help out. So do that. And if you are brand new to Unreal when you're watching this video, I highly recommend that you go visit my playlist on Unreal Engine 5 beginner tutorials for film. In here, I go through everything you're going to need to start your project, downloading Unreal, adding Quixel, and all those things. So make sure that you go through this tutorial. If you are brand new to Unreal and you've never used Unreal before, I highly recommend it. There's a playlist for them. And some people have told me, hey, you don't have episodes. The episodes are right here. So if you go to show more in the description, I have the episodes number. I don't put them on the title or here for algorithm purposes, but the episode numbers in the description if you want to do them in order. Now here in Unreal Engine 5, just to do a demo, I'm just going to make a new level, go here to File, New Level. And in this case, this is actually new for the release version. That's not in the other beginner playlist. You're going to select Basic. Basic is the default level that we used to get with Unreal Engine 4. So I'm going to create a level with that. I'm not going to save this. And you are going to get a level that has all the things you need. So you have a directional light, you have sky atmosphere, you have a skylight, and you have some volumetric clouds. And of course you have this floor with this pretty cool checkerboard texture that I really like more than the one we had before. For me, it's important that we talk about Metahumans because they have by far one of the best facial blend shapes that I've seen, and they have a ton of bones on the face. So if you're going to do facial motion capture, or if you're not going to do facial motion capture, they already come with a control rig that you can use. So we're going to be doing short films with realistic characters. This can change if you're going to be going through the stylized route. I may do a series on that later on down the line, but that takes a lot more time because I don't have those assets ready available for me like I do with Metahumans. So let's look at the Metahumans first. The way you get your Metahumans in here is by going into Quixel Bridge, which we already have inside Unreal Engine 5. And once you load that, you also have to log in, by the way. You can go here into the Metahumans tab, and you can see I already have my Metahumans. I have some that I've created. This one should look familiar if you watched that short film that I made. But let's pick one so I can show you some quick Metahuman customization for the face. So let's select Cooper, and we're going to click here, Start Metahuman Creator. And this is going to send you straight to the Metahuman website where you can actually create your own Metahuman. This takes a little bit to load depending on your connection, so give it some time. Alright, now I have loaded here the Metahuman creators, and as you can see, it also loads the Metahumans that you've already tried. But we're going to create our own Metahuman, so I'm going to go into the Create tab. And this is going to load some of the metahumans that come by default. Now I'm going to select the one we were selecting before, which is Cooper. And he is the one that we're going to customize. So I'm going to click next. And you can see him moving and all that. We can switch this to ray trace, which looks a lot better. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to keep it medium so it doesn't give me any trouble. Now you can rotate him. And there are plenty of videos on this. So I'm just going to go into some of the settings that I've used the most to create my own metahumans. I could spend hours and hours just in this tool, but there's a lot we need to get through. So I'm just going to do some customizations to this metahuman. In the blend, you can actually add certain faces here and it will blend in between the faces. So let's say if we wanted to, let's get him here. Let's get someone else. Let's get him over here and let's do somebody with high. Now, once you have the three faces, you can do the blending. So if I click on one of the spots, I can pull this towards the one that I want the most. So let's say I want a little bit more cheekbones. Let's go to lips and let's say I want a little bit of a different type of lip, or I want a little bit more fuller lip. Let's do something around here in between. This is the greatest part about blending. We can rotate our character to see how he is looking. Let's do the forehead. We're just gonna go this way. Let's go with the, let's see, with the eyes. A little bit of a youngish eyes. This is gonna be a character in like 30s, kind of like what I am. And we're gonna change the skin tone and everything like that in a second. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like this. So we're gonna change the lips as well because it looks like he's wearing a little bit more makeup than I wanted to. So we can go here to skin, and in the texture side is where you actually decide how old your character is going to be. Because if you scroll all the way down here, you can see how his face starts getting really old. Whereas if you go all the way down here, you can see that he is now extremely young and looks a little bit plasticky. So I wouldn't go that far, but I'll take it around here. Let's see. Okay, you do want a lot of detail on the face because this is what it's going to create that illusion of realism. So the more you pass after the middle, it's going to be a lot older. I'm just going to leave him around, let's say around here. It looks young-ish. And we're gonna leave it at that. For the eyes, I like that color. Let's just make it yellowish, that's fine. Over here in the makeup, you can apply foundation. I don't know if this is so the skin doesn't shine as much or something like that. I don't know. If you know about makeup, you probably know what this is. I don't, so I'm just gonna go on. I like to put a little bit of occlusion around the eyes, so we can go with this one. I know it looks funny right now, but you'll see what I mean in a second. So we're just gonna go with that, and you can do the transparency. It's gonna make it a little bit more transparent. The more you go this way. And I think, no, this is not gonna work for this character. It usually works for characters like in medieval settings and all that. But over here, you can add a little bit of blush if you wanted to. It's gonna reduce that. I'm not gonna add anything on the lips, and let's do the hair. This is, I believe, the short clean. Let's change it to short messy, which is the more common hair that I like to use with these characters. You can use a long hair. I don't recommend you use long hair as of the recording of this video. This might change when Metahumans come out of beta. But right now, the collision for the hair and the hair in sequencer freaks out so much, then it's just a pain. So that's why I rather go with a short hair. If you're doing a female or a male with long hair, then I would suggest you put the haircut in a bun or a ponytail, or have it somewhat like this, because it can give you a little bit of a headache. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it can be a little bit more difficult. So I'm just gonna go with this. Let's go and change those eyebrows to something a little bit fuller, like this. And you can change the eyelashes. I think he almost has non-eyelashes. I'm just gonna put it this way. No, that looks okay. This way is fine. And over here you can select whether he has a mustache or one of these. I'm just gonna go with this one. I'm probably gonna do this preset. This preset, if you go into beard and you select the same icon that was before, so this preset is good. So he's not clean shaving. This is going to give it a lot more detail when you are rendering your short film. Especially if you had a beard like I had on the other character, that helps a lot. But this person doesn't need to have quite a long beard. So once you're done with that, you can decide on the proportions. If you go into proportions, you're gonna see that by default, for some reason that I don't know, this Metahumans comes with a very big head. Even if you select the tall frame, the head is still a little bit on the bigger side. So I like to go with the head and do like this. Let's do minus 0.1. Okay, I like to reduce the head just a tad. We're not going to use the Metahuman body because we're going to customize, so that's fine. But if you're going to use the head, minus 0.1 is okay. Regarding the clothing, you can select whatever clothing you want. I'm actually going to, if you're not going to be using as much of the clothing, you can actually do whatever you want with the top and bottoms. That's up to you. I usually leave him like this if I'm not going to be using the clothing. But this is also good if you're going to be, let's say, if you want to use this part of the body and you're going to give him the bottoms, is going to be customized. This is also another good way to go. But for the tops, I think I'm going to keep him with a hoodie. Let's change the colors to a color that I would wear. Certainly not this. Yeah, this looks like something I would wear. And if I were to go to the bottoms, yeah, these jeans are fine. And the shoes are okay. Let's just select the boots. The boots look a little bit more formal. And that's good. Okay, we have our custom Metahuman now, so it's ready for us to use. And you can change the name. I'm going to make it Person 01, and that will be safe. If you go into My Metahumans, it will take you back and you can actually see your Metahuman reflected on this side. There it is. And I have all the Metahumans that I'm going to be using. If you want to delete a Metahuman, you can go here and just hit, once it loads, you can hit delete. It's gonna ask if you want to delete and you just say yes. I'm just gonna get rid of some of these because I'm not gonna be using, these are the defaults that I started with once. Now, after you're done with that, you just leave the server and it's going to tell you, are you sure you're not gonna save? You just click on leave and everything else is good. Now, all you have to do here is go to Quixel Bridge inside Unreal Engine 5. And if you click in this little icon right here, it's gonna take you to the Metahumans. You can expand this if you want to. And we're gonna go to My Metahuman so I can look at the Metahuman that I just created. So for your newly created Metahuman, all you have to do is make sure he is in the highest quality because we're going to be using him for a short film. And you just click download. It's going to take a while generating and so just be patient. Probably takes about 20 minutes to 45 minutes depending on the server, I guess. And then all you have to do is make sure you click on add. And that is it. You got your Metahuman inside. All right, so once we have our Metahuman downloaded, just get a check mark like this and just click add. And it's going to start going through everything, and it's going to start adding this to the project that you have open right now. When it's finished adding it, you're gonna get some pop-up messages right here. So you're gonna get all these messages that your project needs these plugins enabled. Just enable them all and click restart, and you should be good to go. I already have a Metahuman in this project, so that's why I'm not getting those, and it's just preparing the shaders. Now, if you have your Unreal project and Unreal Engine installed in an SSD or an M.2 drive, your shader compiler should go by pretty quickly. Now, the reason he looks bald and this is going insane is because of the LODs. So if you're this far, you're not going to get certain things. And he actually looks like horribly low poly. So, and if you get this close, then everything is going to freak out. What you need to do is go here to LOD sync and click on 0. And as you see, things normalize. Nothing is freaking out anymore. And probably this camera is way too fast. I'm just going to put it to 2. And you can see he looks normal. And if we go back, nothing changes. And if we get here, nothing changes. The reason why this was going haywire is because when the LODs changed to a lower LOD, probably the collision was much greater, and that's why that was going everywhere. Now we're gonna keep him at this setting. However, you are going to need a somewhat decent machine if you want to run Metahumans at this setting. However, we're not going to be running the body, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem. But if you're having problems, then maybe just leave the LODs as they are. Now we're going to compile. And now we have a Metahuman that we can bring into our world and play with. All right, now to the customization part. So what I've brought here is I have the Metahuman that you already saw, and I have the Gothic Knight, which is the model that I use for the rest of the body. What I did is I removed the helmet and I removed the head that's underneath. I actually had to remove the tunic as well, which is this part over here. The tunic works fine when I'm doing real time, but for some reason it freaks out a lot when I am in movie render queue. So if somebody knows the answer to that problem, just let me know in the comment section down below. I'd really like to know how to fix that, because it's happening with every type of clothing that I have. Now, if you wanted to customize him, one way would be to just right click, asset action, export. You click a place where you want to export him. Let's say we want to export him over here, and you're gonna get this dialog. Now over here, this is to take him out of Unreal Engine and get him into a program like Blender, Maya, 3D Studio Max, whatever program you want to use, and just remove the head. That's all you have to do in that case. So in order to do that appropriately, what I would do is I usually go with the 2014 FBX compatibility. The other thing that I do is I uncheck vertex color, level of detail, and collision, because otherwise it's going to export the LODs that Unreal Engine creates, and it's just gonna give you a bit of a mess once you have your XBX out. So I would recommend turning all of these off, click export, and then you should get your mesh ready to get rid of those. I actually already did that, and it should be here. That is one way to do it. I already did that with this mesh right here, but I'm going to show you an easy way to do it within Engine, and it's just by using a transparent material. All you have to do, if you have this asset actually comes with a hide material, which is this one right here, but I'm going to show you how to create one. So all you have to do is right click, material, I'm going to call it hide, go into it. And again, you should visit my tutorial for beginners playlist if you are brand new to this, because I'm gonna go a little bit faster. So all you have to do is turn blend mode opaque to masked, and then just add a hold number 1, click to get a constant vector 1, and just plug that into opacity mask, and you get a material that is hidden. Make sure that you don't cast ray tracing shadows, and click on save. You can also click on unlit just so light doesn't affect this material. Now, what we're going to do with this material is we're going to throw it in all the places where we don't want. And this goes into another thing that I mentioned back when I was recommending the assets. In this case, for the characters, you want the characters to be broken down into several materials, because that way you will be able to do this. In this case, this character is broken down into pants, body, helmet, gloves, so on and so forth. That's what's going to make this process easier. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw this hide material into helmet. There you go. No more helmets, compiling a little bit of the shaders. Now we're going to throw the same material into the head and into the eyes. And you can see no more head. I'm going to also throw in the material on the skirt, because again, that tunic was not working for me in movie render queue, so we're going to hide that. Here is another important thing, and unfortunately this is not something that you can see when you purchase the character. I do think it's very important, and if I see a character that doesn't have this, I will add it in a third-party program like 3D Studio Max or Blender. If you want me to showcase how to do this, it's a little bit more complex because you need some principles of 3D art, and you have to be familiar with modeling programs. But if you want to know about this, let me know and I'll make a tutorial on that later and include it in this playlist. The reason why I'm talking about this is because when you remove things, not every model has the separate pieces capped. So in this case, because the head was a separate piece from the torso armor, they capped this, which is correct and is usually what you do in AAA games, because if you don't have that and you hide the head, then you pretty much can see through the armor, which makes no sense and you don't want that. That's one of the good things about this model. I wish every model had this. Unfortunately, there's no way for you to know one unless you buy the model and try it for yourself. But if you happen to have this problem, there are ways to solve this with the modeling program. Now that we have the model like this, and by the way, I did it in the model that's on the level. If you do it in the model that's on the level, things are not going to carry over. So if you want your model over here to be affected by those material changes, I just did it here for demonstration purposes. But if you want to do it here, just duplicate the one that came with your asset pack. I always recommend to duplicate in case you messed up. And just add the materials that way. You just double click in the skeletal mesh and you're going to have the materials here, and that way you have the character available like I do on that other side. I can actually show you really quickly with this character because I need to hide the cape and the tunic. So I'm just going to browse there to where I have my hide material. Make sure I save this. And I'm just going to throw it into where the cape is and to where the tunic is. And I'm going to save my skeletal mesh. And after that, my skeletal mesh will be like that all the time, and I don't have to be doing this. And this also is something that you need in order to create what we're going to do next, which is the blueprints. But before we create a custom Metahuman blueprint, we need to hide the rest of the body and part of the head. If you have seen my previous video on how to do it, how to customize your Metahuman with the ROG armor, which is a great asset pack, by the way. Now, if you watch that video, this is going to be very similar to that, just changed a couple things. So if you want to stick around just so you can see those changes. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate our Metahuman because we're going to make some changes and we don't want to mess up the base. Just name whatever you want. Just going to leave it at that. Go into the blueprint, and what we're going to do is we need to erase the body parts that we're not going to use. So torso, legs, feet, body. Now, some of you that saw that previous video may be asking, well, why delete those parts if you can you're just going to use the face skeletal mesh? The reason why I deleted that is because I want everyone to show you what's going to happen once I apply the thing that removes this part of the body. So we need to take care of that, because if we transfer this facial skeletal mesh as it is into our armor, this is going to clip through. and it's going to make it very difficult. Of course, you could always go into the 3D program and fix that, but again, we're trying to be as efficient as we can, and I know not everybody has access to a 3D program. Not everybody that watches my videos is a 3D artist or is well versed in 3D modeling. So let's do things the easy way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hide this part by going into the material. So double click the skin material. This looks very funny, it's real stretched, and we're going to go all the way down here to its parent. This one also has another parent for some reason, and I'm just going to click the magnifying glass, and that's going to take me here. So over here I do have already a material that I've made for that purpose. I already have opacity masks that I got from that video that I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. That is a YouTuber that I learned this from, and I think it's a great method. I think it's a great easy method, and you should go to his video and get all of these. Now what these are is an opacity mask that's going to make the bottom of the neck hidden, and it's going to show everything else that's above. So all you gotta do is, as always, duplicate this material, and I'm going to call it head without neck. Well, it's spelled one. That's so funny. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go inside of this, and we're going to turn this into a masked material. So right now it's opaque. Let's turn it into masked, and it's going to give us that opacity mask option. Now for this, I want to use this one, which is the lowest one. Depending on what type of character you're doing, or depending how much the color of the armor or the dressing or the shirt, whatever is, you may want to decide with other opacity masks. I'm just going to bring this one in, and it brings it in as a texture sample. I'm just going to connect the RGB into the opacity mask and click on save. Once we have that saved, what we need to do is we need to substitute the parent of this with the newly created parent. So over here we're just going to drop this one in, and if you go back to your Metahuman, you're going to see instantly that big portion of the neck just went away. Actually, this is probably a little bit lower than what I used in the short film character, so I'm going to use this other opacity mask. We can go in here, click the texture sample, click on your texture right here, and click this little arrow. It will substitute it instantly. Click on save. That will apply. It needs to compile a little bit, and there you go. That's probably too much, so well, I guess third time is the charm. Let's just use this one. Click on save, and there you go. This one is exactly the one that I used for the short film. And as you can see, you can cycle through all of them, and I think he has even more opacity masks, and you can create your own in Photoshop or GIMP. It's a very simple file. Now what we're going to do is we are going to grab this head and add it to this body. So let's go back into the folder where I have the body. Now here in the folder that we have the body, we don't have to duplicate anything because we're actually going to create something from scratch. So if we go into, let's just create it over here. Now we're gonna click here, and we're gonna create a blueprint class. We're gonna create an actor, and we're gonna name it BP_person warrior. There you go. And all we have to do is throw in our skeletal meshes. So if we go back here, we have this skeletal mesh right here. I'm just gonna toss it over here as component, and there it is. I like to deparent this so I don't have the ugly icon on the bottom. And then we're going to go back into our person. I used to do it this way, where I grab the blueprint and toss it over here. That works fine, which is the way that I did before. And this is where I'm doing things a little bit different because I have motion capture. Now, if I were to add this blueprint into this other blueprint and create a blueprint inception, it's fine, it works fine, but when it comes to motion capture, it makes my life a little bit harder. So in that case, what I like to do is I like to grab the face and grab everything until the LOD sync, right click, copy, go back here, make sure you select this guy and paste. There you go. So it's gonna paste it that way, and the neck is going to be super stretched, kind of looking upwards, and there are some things that we need to fix to make this work. Now, I know you're gonna be tempted to kind of move it through the center and all that. Please don't do that, because it's going to be harder later on. There's one little step that we need to take on first before we actually go through that, and that is the facial animation blueprint. We're gonna talk about animation blueprint later in the motion capture, chapters of this tutorial series, but for now, just know that there are some alterations that we need to do here. In order to access the face anim blueprint, we just need to click here. It's gonna take us to the facial anim blueprint, and as always, just duplicate the blueprint so you don't have any problems later. And we need to go into the anim graph. You're usually gonna be here in the event graph, and all you have to do is double click here. It's gonna take you to the anim graph, click here. And what you need to do is uncheck use attach parent and check use mesh pose. Once that's done, you can just compile, and when you go back to the blueprint that you newly created, nothing has changed, because of course we need to point it to this facial animation blueprint that's right here. So all you have to do is click the new face anim blueprint that you created, click this arrow, and there you go. Now your head is where it should be. There's no weird stretching, and is actually in the position that we wanted, which is in the 0, 0, 0 position. Now that we have our head here, is looking a little bit too big for this body. So we're going to make sure that your lock pad is locked. That way it scales on all 3 axes. And let's go with 0.9. That's usually what I use. Now here you will be tempted, like I was, to position your head where it's supposed to be. We're also not going to do that just yet, because we need to parent the head. If you don't parent the head, it's not parented here. You just made the head a child of the body, but it's not parented to the head bone, so you need to do that. Sometimes you can parent it to the neck bones. In some type of characters that has worked, but I mostly do it to the head bone. I've seen some people create sockets on the bones and parent it that way. That's also another good way to do it. I just do it to the bone and it works fine. So I'm just gonna go with head, click here, and it's gonna do that. So what just happened is position the pivot right where the head should be, and for some reason it throw it out 90 degrees. And this is why I told you not to move the head beforehand, because if you do, then your head's going to be in a totally different position, and you don't want that. You want to make things as easier as possible. Now all we need to do is rotate 90 degrees and bring our head down. Now what I want to do in this case, because there's a little bit of a neck armor here, you want to make sure you take this into account, otherwise your neck is going to be too long. So I'm just going to put it all the way down here. I'm just assuming that his actual body is way behind this armor and there's clothes underneath, just to make him look more like he belongs. And I think we should bring his head just a tad backwards, or not. Nah, I think it's good where it is. I'm just gonna leave it in that place. Once you are done with that, you can compile, and there you go. You have a custom Metahuman with a customized body, which is totally different than the body that he brought. Alright everybody, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked that video. Please leave me a like down in the comments down below, and I'm inviting to everyone to let me know what kind of things from the short film that you saw that you want to explain. I'm looking for feedback, things that you want me to help you out, whether regarding it's the custom Metahumans, how to put them in a very specific system. I've already have a lineup of videos that I'm going to be doing on this series, but I want to hear your feedback, see what you want. Thanks everybody for helping me out with these videos, all my patrons, everybody from the community. Oh, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. There's Instagram, where I also post some updates if you use that sort of system. There's the alien channel if you want to see me doing some VTubing as an alien. And yeah, there's the Discord. Don't forget to hit like, comment, subscribe, follow, all those good stuff. And I'll see you in the next video.